You're caught in the SFvortex.
Go get the crew. We're going on a little expedition.
Hey, while you're out, can you grab some bug spray? The Sliders gang is entombed with a man-eating insect. Is it possible to be too brainy? It is if you're Howie Mandel on The Outer Limits.
May I see it?
Sure, and look, it's that old-fashioned hero Sinbad fighting his way back to modern television.
I curse you, Sinbad. I curse you.
Now, no cursing, unless, of course, you're in the war room, where we'll hash out the popularity of fantasy television. So jump right in, because it's all happening right here.
Now this is what I would call the ultimate getaway.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Roger Lodge, and once again, you have fallen into the SFvortex. Don't try to escape, or you'll miss the latest news and updates on what's going on in the world of science fiction entertainment. Like later on in the show, when we head down to the war room to discuss TV's recent resurgence of fantasy programs. And who better to hash it out with than Sinbad's executive producer, Ed Naha, science fiction author Daniel Bernardi, and the newest Robin Hood is here, actor Matthew Peretta, coming up in just a few minutes. But topping our list of concerns is the X-Files. Now, apparently creator Chris Carter will be leaving the show after next season to pursue a full-time movie career. What kind of movies? Well, his first project is reported to be a feature film version of the X-Files that will serve as the conclusion to next season's cliffhanger. Now, how do you feel about having to stand in line and pay $7.50 to catch the season finale? Let us know what you think. All right, while you're saving your pennies, we have a preview of this week's slider for you, and it's absolutely free. Now, the team drops into a world where ancient Egyptian culture still dominates all avenues of modern society. And before they know it, our heroes are trapped inside a sealed pyramid with an enormous beetle. Nice going, Rembrandt. However, don't try this one at home, folks. When I shock the giant cockroaches in my apartment, it just makes them angrier. All right, let's move on. Showtime viewers will be treated to 2 new back-to-back episodes of The Outer Limits this week. Now, in the first one, comedian Howie Mandel plays a mentally retarded man who was suddenly granted the technology to transfer the minds of others into his head. The second episode features none other than the species alien herself, Natasha Henstridge, as a holographic computer program who becomes a little more human than her user would like.
Aiden, how could you?
How about this? Natasha Henstridge Lodge. I like it. And for those of you who don't subscribe to Showtime, don't worry. These episodes will be in syndication later on in the year. All right. If you're itching for a little feature-length entertainment, you'll be pleased to know that our friends here at the Sci-Fi Channel are premiering a new original movie this week. It's entitled Phoenix, and it's the story of an imprisoned soldier recruited to eradicate a colony of revolting androids rising up against their creators. Now, I was lucky enough to catch the premiere of this movie. Trust me, folks, you don't want to miss it. It's terrific, right here on the Sci-Fi Channel. And you probably recognize the leader of the androids there, right? That was William Sanderson. You remember him. He was the genetic engineer in Blade Runner. What was that, 15, 16 years ago? I guess the word is, if you're ever looking to make a movie about synthetic people, hey, Billy Sanderson's apparently your man. All right, sharpen your cutlass, because when we come back, we're going to sail into the adventures of Sinbad, followed by a good saber rattling about fantasy TV in our war room. Stay with us.
Wish me luck.
The star of Sinbad tells us what it's like to rule the high seas when SFvortex returns. All right, welcome back to the show the Green Bay Packers have never missed, SFvortex. You know, we're going to be heading down to the war room in just a few minutes, folks. But first, it's off to a fantastic adventure on the high seas. No, not another Love Boat reunion, thank God. This is The Adventures of Sinbad, which was just renewed for its second season. Here's a look at what it's all about.
Let's set sail.
It's a classic story that's been passed down through the ages. Everybody has grown up with it. I don't think there's anybody in the world that doesn't know who Sinbad the Sailor is.
Well, just in case you don't know, the new Sinbad is played by Zen Gessner, who grew up watching the old swashbuckler films of Errol Flynn and Burt Lancaster. He actually started training for this role at a very young age.
When I was 5, my mother directed me in a film that involved all the members of my family playing their specific careers. I played this little kid running along a beach where I climb on this rock, look over the edge of the rock, just rock hunting really, just looking for stones and shells. And I see this sword, and I reach down, pick up the sword, and I hold it, and I start to swing it around. And so I guess I was kind of like slated for Sinbad.
Go get the crew. We're going on a little expedition.
He's the leader of one of the most incredibly diverse crews I think I've ever seen. Even Star Trek doesn't come close to what we've got. We've got my big brother Dubar, who's Sinbad's big brother, who's been his bodyguard from when Sinbad was a little child. Then we have this mad inventor, Peruse.
Success!
There's Oris, who plays Rongar. And Rongar is a Moor who had his tongue cut out.
Oh, we love to watch people squirm when they find that one out.
Dermot's a hawk. But he's a key player in this crew. Then we have this sorceress, who's my co-star, Jacqueline Cullen, who she plays Maeve, this Celtic fireball of a woman who Sinbad is very attracted to.
She's just such a real person to me, and there's a definite difference between Jackie and Maeve. There's a definite difference. Of course, I add some of myself to her, but she's a very different person than me.
Both Jackie and Zen do their own stunts. Zen even studied historical fighting while in college in London. Who would have guessed that would come in handy someday?
It's always appealed to me through the ages, and when Sinbad came up, I was able to put all of this to work.
Now that's a monster.
Boy, you're not kidding. That was a monster, huh, folks? Pretty amazing how far computer animation has come since Tron, don't you think? Anyway, we are here in the War Room ready to hash out our differences with spirited debate rather than with swords and magic. And joining us today, Mr. Ed Naha is here, the executive producer and creator of The Adventures of Sinbad. Also, Daniel Bernardi is here, sci-fi writer and the author of The Wrath of Whiteness, The Meaning of Race in the Generation of Star Trek. And also, look who's here, folks. Here he is, Matthew Peretta, who plays the latest incarnation of Sherwood Forest's greatest hero in The Adventures of Robin Hood. And for the 85% of you who voted in our War Room poll and haven't seen the show, check this guy out on action Monday nights, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern on TNT. All right, let's get to it, gentlemen. You got Robin Hood, you got Xena, Hercules, all these shows, all these new fantasy shows. Ed Naha, why all of a sudden this resurgence of these fantasy shows?
Because I think it's a good old-time adventure where someone can tune in and see good defeating evil, and they know that that's going to happen.
Kind of an escape, kind of a...
Total escape is fair. And yet it makes a point. Yeah, I think there are small morals to be found in all the fantasy adventures where your hero is basically helping people who can't help themselves.
Can we feel safe with our kids watching these kind of programs?
I would hope so, yeah.
Okay, because my kid loves that Hercules and Xena show. Okay, Matthew, what do you think?
I totally agree. I don't have kids, but I think that when I do have kids,
right,
I would absolutely be happy for them to watch my show or Hercules or Xena or Sinbad.
Okay.
See,
nice
it's a dish off. You see the dish off? Hercules and Sinbad.
Daniel Bernardi, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're right. I think there's another element there. I think there's a lot of romance in these this genre, and so you get a lot of women viewers. I think the largest demographic of these shows are women, so I think that, and children. So I think there's a lot of romance in these fantasies.
Right. Let me ask you this now, not to start a fight or anything, but Daniel, you're kind of our Star Trek expert here.
Yeah.
Now, fantasy, Star Trek, fantasy, sci-fi, do the two belong together?
Well, you know, on one level they do because they share the same audience, but on another level they don't. Science fiction is about the possible. It's about what if. And fantasy is about, you know, romance and good versus evil and very binary sort of right and wrongs. They're totally different. There's no way you're going to have the possibility of Superman coming down and stopping a locomotive. But you might have a starship, and we might meet aliens someday, that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, especially if Superman's wearing his new outfit. You know, but I think the two genres do share certain elements, in that unless you're talking dystopian science fiction, you're really showcasing two different areas of fiction where people have to rise above their surroundings and their whatever stuff is keeping them down, and really behave to their act to their fullest, behave to the, you know, behave their best.
Matthew,
survive.
Robin Hood, what do you think?
Well, I think that that they do share. I think they're more similar than what you're saying. I think that the genre has not been realized, and I think that it is going towards things that are that could happen, you know, because they do share that type of audience, and they want you know, they want that to pay off for them, because a lot of people need, you know, they say, well, that doesn't make sense. I need that to make sense, you know.
Right.
So I think, and you know, not every episode, but see, that's the great thing about the shows, is that every week you have to come up with something different, and you.
Yes.
Yeah. And as Ed
Don't
knows.
we know that?
Yeah.
We'll get back to that in a lot more in just a second. Don't go away, folks. There's more to hash out in the War Room when SF Vortex continues. See you in a minute. All right, welcome back to the show that Lucy Lawless has never missed, SF Vortex. We are still in the War Room, folks, with producer Ed Naha, author Daniel Bernardi, and actor Matthew Peretta is still here. All right, my next question, my next topic. Xena, Hercules, consistently beating the Star Treks in the ratings. Is there no justice in this world, Daniel? How is this possible?
There is no justice in this world.
Thank
I don't
you.
know what's going on
It
there.
has nothing to do with that, but we have no justice.
I mean, that
Let's
outfit-
just get that out in the open. There's no justice in the
I mean, I
world.
like Xena's outfit, but come on.
Here's the deal. That's what it's about. Here's the deal. Science fiction, like Star Trek, is political allegory. It's intellectual. It makes you think, and it questions society, at least the best part of these shows.
Right.
Whereas, like I said earlier, these shows are really real fantasy, real romance. I mean, basically what you have in these shows is a group of men who hang out together in tights, fight with swords, and are lost in a forest or on a ship.
What's your point, Daniel?
What are you trying to say?
What are you trying to say?
You're the only one that's noticed.
You know, they rescue damsels in distress, and then they let them go back in the forest with their guys.
Does anyone
you
on
know?
your show wear tights?
No.
How about on Robin Hood? Do you wear tights?
I just
what do you
don't-
wear on that show?
You know what? I just don't have the legs for it. It's kind of a pink taffeta dress. It's off the shoulder number with a tiara. But
And the
it's a
chafing
whole new
problem
thing.
is terrible in the
That
heat.
would work.
Okay,
so.
well, what do you think? I mean, they're consistently beating Star Trek. What do you attribute that to?
Well, you know, I think they're two different types of shows. It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Right.
You know, they're good escapist fare. I think Xena and Hercules worked because they were new. They combined solid adventure and action with contemporary attitudes.
And you mentioned escape. So I'm watching these shows. I'm watching Xena. I'm watching Hercules. Me, personally, I'm watching Baywatch. I'm escaping for an hour. Is that the thing?
Yeah, I think so. And I think you're going to a place where good is the prevalent force, as opposed to when you turn on the news. But I think in comparing the two types of shows, fantasy and science fiction, I just don't think it's a smart thing to do. And I think it has no purpose, really. It's like, would you compare a Western to I Love Lucy?
Okay, how about this?
The only reason why you want to compare them, and I agree with you, but the only reason you want to compare them is two. One is they share the same audience, so they kind of suggest those types of comparisons. And the second, the industry, Hollywood, you know, the networks, they compare them. They're the ones who putting them together and making them compete with each other and lumping them on the same
but,
category.
you know, that's like saying you had two first cousins who married and you want the opinion of their child. You know, if you're going,
I didn't say that. You did.
Where are you going with this?
It's really close.
I think you're proving my point.
Hear him out. Hear him out.
If
Hear him out.
you're talking about the networks think this way, I mean, when have you gone to the network to have them prove a salient point? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, these are people who, you know, looked at Star Trek and just went, lose the guy with the ears. You know, that's
Well, that's
like,
part of the problem. That's why we want to compare them. I mean, at the level of genre, true, you've got two different stories being told. Good, evil, very basic, very black and white, very linear. And the other one, you got a little bit more complexity, maybe something a little bit more intellectual. I agree. But you know what? They're being pitted together. They're being shown together. And they sort of do warrant a comparison, i.e. the science fiction, this channel. I mean, what did they do
Hey,
with
what are you saying?
Well, no,
For God's sake, I'm
hey,
going to
it's
move on to my next topic.
Look, I'm not trying to be critical, but the fact is this network puts a lot of science fiction and a lot of fantasy together. More power to them. But that's why we're comparing them.
Okay, with all the fantasy shows, you know, Xena, Hercules, we've mentioned all of them, 5 or 6, you know. Okay, does the writing suffer? Is it going to filter down? Or are there enough good fantasy writers around, Ed?
I think there are enough, but I think it's a genre that has to be relearned because it's been gone for a while.
Right.
10 to 15 years. But I think
So what do we need to do to bring it back, to bring back the good writing? Where's it going to come from, Matthew?
Well, I think it's evolving right now, and I think with the new genre will come new and better writing. I think you know, to compare it to Star Trek isn't fair because.
Well, wait a minute, guys.
You hear that? It's not fair.
It isn't fair because Star Trek's been around a while, but we're not talking about terribly complex stories here. We're talking about the arch story, good versus evil.
Absolutely.
Good
Right.
wins
Well,
out.
just because
I mean,
something, something is
complicated?
simple doesn't mean that it's not hard
fair.
to write.
Does
No,
good
and-
have to
and
win
then-
out every week? Is that important?
Yes.
In this genre,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, in this genre, yes, definitely.
So there you go. Your ending is written for you. How complicated is it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of bad science fiction writing too.
True. But that
Not on
doesn't-
this channel.
But that doesn't
Writing
excuse
here
the
is
bad.
terrific.
It's terrific.
That doesn't excuse
Like,
the
look at
bad
this writing.
on-
It's terrific. We're about out of time here, so that's it for the War Room. Now, you can't teach that. That's
be
terrific
that way.
stuff. I want to thank our guests, Ed Nahad, Daniel Bernardi, and Matthew Peretta for joining us. Next time, guys, I think we'll have some real swords. You can really duke it out. That was very entertaining. Don't go away at home, folks, because we have more sci-fi news and all of your viewer comments. Ooh, that should be scary. See you when SF Vortex returns.
Let's just give
All right, welcome back to SF Vortex. I'm Roger Lodge, but enough about me. If you've been watching The Burning Zone, prepare for a cash shakeup in the next few weeks. Both Tamlin Tomita and Jeffrey Dean Morgan have quit the show to go on to greener pastures, or at least less infectious pastures. There are no indications that the zone will stop burning, however. This season is far from over, folks, so it's likely that a couple of new actors will be brought in to fill Tomita's and Morgan's biohazard suits. My photo resume is on the way. Now, we've all seen Jackie Chan's talents in his hyperkinetic action films, but have you ever wondered how he would do in a science fiction movie? Well, we did, and in a recent interview, we asked him if he'd ever like to ease up on human criminals and maybe take on a few alien bad guys.
They can use special effect and computer graphic with my real stunt. I think it's gonna be great, but I just don't have the chance to do it. I'm looking forward to work with some other American good Steven Spielberg, George Lucas.
I don't know about you, but I'd love to see him whoop E.T.'s butt. Anyway, wasn't he great in First Strike? All right, let's move along. Our old buddy Mike the Birdman emailed us. I heard a rumor that Mike Nelson and Mary Jo Peele from Mystery Science 3000 are going to be on SF Vortex next week. Is this true? Well, Mike, and all you other MST3K fans out there, this rumor is true. Until then, I'm Roger Lodge, and for everybody here in the Vortex, we are out.